And you and me were meant to be a little.
And where we're at in God's Word. Now that part is really meant to help you as you're studying to set up context and understand where you're at with things. In this case, where we're at in God's Word and the transition closely match each other. So I'm going to actually skip that part and just going to slip into the hook question. And the hook question is, what would you find the easiest to sacrifice or give up in your life? What would be the hardest? Why? Now, this question can go a couple ways. People can have some fun with it and kind of joke around with it. But as the question gets bounced around, kind of push people to really think about it and dig a little bit. I think you'd be surprised some of the answers. With that, let's just go ahead and move on into transition. I would just read what is actually captured for us right there, what I wrote a long time ago. It says, "Many years have passed since Abraham left his homeland to follow God. He experienced many trials, but God blessed him through it all. Probably over 35 years have passed, and Abraham did become a father to two sons. The first, Ishmael, was born to him by one of his wife's slaves. This was the result of Abraham and Sarah trying to help God out with keeping his promise. His second son, Isaac, however, was born to him by his wife Sarah when they were both very old. And as Isaac grew, Sarah's jealousy toward Abraham's other son and her slave, Hagar and Ishmael, intensified, and it caused a lot of strife in the family. Eventually, those two were actually kicked out of the family. So our story tonight finds us catching a glimpse of an incredible test of faith. Here's the story from God's Word. God called Abraham one day. He simply called out, "Abraham." And Abraham replied, "Here am I." God said, "Take your son, your only son, the one you love, Isaac. Go to the place I will show you, and I want you to sacrifice him as a burnt offering." So early the next day, Abraham got up, split some wood, grabbed Isaac, and saddled his donkey, and told a couple of his servants to join them. They were headed toward the area of where the Mount Moriah is, just like God had asked. They traveled for 3 days. So he turned to the servants and told them to wait here with the donkey. They loaded up the wood onto Isaac, and Abraham took the fire pot and the knife, and together they headed up the mountain. Oh, man! As they were walking, Isaac stopped and asked his father, "Dad, I see we have everything we need for the sacrifice, except the lamb. What's up with that?" Abraham looked at his son and said, "The Lord himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering." And together they continued on. When they arrived at the spot, Abraham built an altar and arranged the wood on it. Isaac got up on the altar, and they bound him. Abraham raised the knife to sacrifice his son Isaac. And then, suddenly, the angel of Jehovah called from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham!" Abraham said, "Here am I." The angel of Jehovah replied, "Do not kill your son. Stop everything." Abraham looked around and saw a ram that was caught in the brush. So he went over it and grabbed it and sacrificed it instead of Isaac. And Abraham named that place, "The Lord will provide," because of what happened. The angel of Jehovah called out again to Abraham. He said, "I swear, because you did what you were asked and showed yourself to be obedient, the agreement that I made with you earlier in your life still stands. Your descendants will be as many as the stars in the sky, and the whole earth will be blessed because of your seed." Then they left there and went to Beersheba. And that's the story from God's Word. So, guys, go ahead and as usual, reconstruct and read it out loud together. Moving on to the big 4 questions. Some of them are slightly different this time. The first one, what do we learn about God in the story? Obviously, there's a lot. God does actually test people's faith. That's one thing that's going to come out of this. I really think so. God had a good reason, actually, for testing his faith. This is recorded for generations and generations of people to see that before Jesus Christ hit the planet, God had this in mind the whole time, and he shared that with Abraham. That's an amazing thing. The second question is, what did God tell Abraham to do? And then we want people to put themselves in his place, Abraham's place. How would you have responded? So that's going to take a little bit of time to chew on. Third question's the same, though. What did you learn new in this story? I don't know. Answers are going to vary. And what should I do differently because of this story? I'll be honest with you. This story teaches me that I need to there's nothing that I should try to hold on to myself. And it's all God's. He's given it to me all. He provides everything. And we see that incredible faith played out by Abraham. So pick up that cross and die to yourself daily sort of stuff is what I'm seeing out of this story. That's what I should be doing differently. As far as extra questions go, I think these are really good ones, and if you can get to them, I would try. What do you think was running through Abraham's head? How about Isaac? I mean, really, I don't think Abraham got any sleep that night, to be honest with you. I couldn't imagine, but he did exactly what God asked. It's amazing. The second question I really like: share a time when God has tested your faith. What happened? That's a great question to have kicked around the room, and I really hope that people engage on this. And then the last question, how does this relate to the Messiah? I've already kind of given you the answer to this, the fact that it actually is kind of a type. It's God sharing what he's going to end up having to go through. So he allowed Abraham to really feel all those emotions, but also it shows that he's going to sacrifice his one sinless, spotless lamb, Jesus Christ. For things to do in between the group, take some time this week to thank God for the people in your family and do something to show them that you love them. Yeah, that's huge. Encourage everybody to be doing that. The second thing is, in your prayers this week, take time to pray for the families of the people in your group. Got to lift each other up, guys. Now, the memory verse for the week is actually the writer of Hebrews recording what happened in this passage, Genesis 22, 1 through 19. Right. Definitely one of my top 5 stories, favorite Bible stories. As a father, when I read it, I really do actually start to get emotional. Abraham was an incredible man, and Isaac was an incredible young man. He's probably between 18 and 25. Also, guys, the richness of this story is incredible. In the book of Hebrews, the author writes in the beginning, "In the past, God spoke to our ancestors through the prophets at many times and in various ways. But in these last days, he has spoken to us by his Son." Now, the amazing thing about this story is that God the Father actually shows and allows Abraham and Isaac to experience, to a degree, all that he would several thousand years later to the fullest degree with the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. He sacrificed his own Son. So that's amazing. Anyway, great story, guys. Enjoy it. Have fun. I'm praying for you guys. Let me know if you need anything. And as always, send me your feedback on these videos. All right. God bless you. Bye.